We're rolling into week 11. We got some different players on the waiver wire. Some of these guys you already picked up. We got some new wide receivers who are stepping up, looking to get more targets and opportunity. John Metchie came out, scored a touchdown. He's coming back from the injuries, the leukemia, and he's back on the field getting some work. Nico Collins is coming back. Everything's kind of looking dicey, but also the offense might have more firepower to it. And a lot of people are looking to pick up John Metchie. They're looking at his upside. They're looking at the offense. They're looking at Stephon Diggs being out, and they're wondering what to do. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to look at his advanced metrics. We're going to look at his history. We're going to look at the situation in the offense, and then you can decide from all the information with this deep dive. But before you dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every day on as many players as possible, and today's Wednesday, and we're going to go ham with it. We're going to talk about a lot of players. We're going deep off the waiver wire, and we're using these videos to help you set your lineups. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair, but John Metchie was picked up, and this number's changed. So probably over 30,000 leagues on Sleeper over these last 24 hours or so. His stock is rising. His stock is going up. And that's in terms of fantasy managers dipping their toe in the water and just adding him to their team. That doesn't mean you should buy because of that. It is a strong indicator of the market that, hey, we are interested in this player because there are some things that you need to look at. So we need to look at them today. And Nico Collins will be back soon. Will be back soon. Already practicing, when I mean soon, against the Dallas Cowboys. But Nico Collins is back. That is going to be in the fold. But what does that look for the offense, John Metchie, and everybody else when you're looking at this? John Metchie, remember, coming back from leukemia, ACL tears, injuries, and everything else. The fact that we made it to this point that I can make a unique video about him is a big win. He is winning right now. The fact that he was able to score a touchdown last week is a big win for him. He had all these things setting him back, and now we're back on the field doing some things. This is a second-round pick with a lot of upside at Alabama, who had some production to him. Nothing too glorious, nothing with a ton of upside to it, but he's a steady route runner, good at creating separation. He can get targeted downfield. He's a very dependable playmaker. He's just a dependable player. Any NFL team would love to have him on the back end of their roster because this is a very dependable player who can really help out your team, give you some depth on the back end of your depth chart, and possibly give you more, especially if he develops, especially from all these setbacks. But everything was looking good coming out of college. Got him drafted in the second round. Looking at what he did last 2 weeks here in this offense, the workload was creeping up. 31 routes in week 9, 27 in week 10, 71% route participation rate versus 67%. Things are going up. The ADOT's up there as well. We're working out of the slot. It's about 50-50. They're moving them in and out. That's a good sign to see. He's getting the work rate in this offense, and you're looking at him versus the other jabroni wide receivers, Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods. He was looking better and getting the better work rate compared to those wide receivers on the field and stepping it up. And then you look at the production in this offense over time. You're looking at the targets here. Stephon Diggs is leaving 63 targets off the table. Those got to go somewhere. Nico Collins getting a 24% target share. That's going to ramp up. The work's going to go heavy to Nico Collins. CJ Stroud's going to go bombs over Baghdad to Nico Collins. He's going to get a lot of targets deep downfield. Nico Collins is going to go off. Nico Collins is going to help this offense. The thing is, for the ancillary wide receivers and Tank Dell's his own thing, that's going to allow them to really get pushed downfield and allow them to see better targets. They got to account for Nico Collins and him going off and him making that big play or two every single game. I look for Tank Dell to have a good target share, but somebody else has to get some targets in this offense, and it might be volatile. It's like you're not going to expect another Stephon Diggs to come back, but you might expect volatile production from that wide receiver 3, and right now it's trending to be John Metchie more because Xavier Hutchinson and Nico Collins are kind of like in the similar role, that taller, lankier wide receiver who gets downfield. And if you're looking downfield, you're going to go Nico Collins and you're going to run those concepts more in favor for Nico Collins John Metchie, you can move him around in the slot outside. He's got a skill set of creating separation, getting downfield. Recently, he's been getting the snaps and the route participation rate. All things are indicating for that. And then on top of that, him versus Robert Woods. If you've been wondering about that on the routes, he has been beating out Robert Woods in route participation rate and routes ran. On top of that, you're looking at the routes ran throughout the season. Tank Dell has 300. Stephon Diggs 270. That work rate has to go somewhere. On top of that, Nico Collins is back. I look for Nico Collins to get flooded, but you can only get flooded so much. It's probably like, if you get flooded, it can only be like 5 to 8% more of targets, which is like 5 more a game. That being said, still targets got to go somewhere in this offense. This offense is best when they're pushing it downfield, getting vertical. Nico Collins in this offense will make Tank Dell better because he's going to be on the field. He's a good wide receiver. And I think if John Metchie can be on the field, he can get some ancillary targets. But now I'm talking in terms of targets, routes. What does that mean for fantasy football? I went this whole time talking about work rate, his stock portfolio, his scouting report. What does that mean for fantasy football? You look at Nico Collins, he's studly when he's on the field. But we're looking at John Metchie and we're like, how can he work with this? I look at Nico Collins as the man here. He's probably going to get 20 to 25 to 30 PPR fantasy points per game, somewhere around that 25 area, somewhere around there. It's probably going to increase. I look for CJ Stroud to just overload him with targets. When I think about John Metchie, I think about a volatile option and maybe an option that flatlines too. I think there's a lot of risk here. He's a player that you probably want to take a stab at just in case at the back end of your bench. Like, I'm not going to feel good starting him. After those words, you may not want to pick him up or have him. Some of you guys are like, I want to see this through. I want to see what happens because I do like this offense. I do like Nico Collins. I think he's so good with a high volume offense that can make other wide receivers better. If you want to do that, do that. I'm not here to sell you or sell you away from him. I'm just here to share the information. That's why you should trust me or not trust me, or just go off of what I say or don't go off of what I say. But be very open-minded to players like this on both ways, because I can definitely see how he could break out, do this offense, just getting more vertical. But I can also see Nico Collins, Tank Dell, them getting a lot of the work, Dalton Schultz getting a lot of work, Joe Mixon going off, and just some scraps. But I think you can get some volatility, which is something you may not want. But that is the trend off of waiver wire wide receivers, because Nico Collins is going to get about 10 targets a game. It says 9 targets average, but that Buffalo game is stinking it up there. We're going to get about 10 targets or so a game. So if we're tossing it 30 times a game, there's only 20 more targets to go around. So if we're doing that, and you think about it in those lines, and if it's going past 30, that means probably more targets than Nico in those matchups. That being said, you're going to see some targets to Tank. You're going to see some targets to Dalton Schultz. Joe Mixon will probably get 3 to 5. So you're looking 3 to 5 targets a game to John Metchie probably, unless there's a spike week where he gets extra opportunity. Can you live with that? Do you want that? How do you want to work with that? So 5 on the top end on the moving average. 3 to 5 more than likely for the moving average when you're looking at targets per game, when you're thinking that through. You like Nico Collins, he's the man. That's what you're rolling with. However, you're stashing just in case you heard something I said that generated with you. You want to stash him. I think there is some talent here. I think he's good at creating separation. However, that's a dime a dozen right now in the National Football League, and it's going to be a flooded pool of separators soon in the next few years, making it hard to gauge wide receivers because there's just going to be a lot of good ones. But still, John Metchie does have some upside in this offense. There's potential for that. There's also potential for the down end. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.